Hi, Divesh.
Good evening,
Good
Sam.
evening.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm glad this cold
Welcome.
weather is warmed up at least.
Yes, no. We are starting to experience beautiful weather, which is good. But I knew it wouldn't last that long. I mean, typical South Africa.
I'm just wondering though, when the snow starts melting, if it will start getting cold again.
Most likely, because the cold that we experience here in the high veld is because of what is happening in the Drakensberg area and the Cape.
Yes.
So that's where we experience the cold from. But anyway, we are used to it. It's always been like this since I was ever born. It never changed.
But you know what changes? We get older, so you experience the weather differently
Yeah, I know.
as you
I know.
age. Yes.
I used to. It used to hit me very hard when I was a young head boy in the rural Limpopo, and
Yes.
it will be
Yes.
so cold. And then you listen to the news, and then they tell you that the Drakensberg mountain area, Lesotho area, it's snowing, and that's why we are experiencing the cold.
Yes.
And now with advancement of technology, it's actually quite evident. You can even see the weather reports on TV, what is happening that side.
Yeah, I think the weather as well, with the advent of other technology like AI, it's
Yeah,
becoming more accurate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We used not to take it as important part of the news, but with the adverse effects it has on our lifestyle, the first thing you want to check when you wake up is the weather report. And you're right, you actually can even plan a couple of days ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome. We have a couple of listeners already online, so let's welcome them. Greetings, colleagues. This is Commercial Radio Worldwide. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. Our shows are based on the principle called the idea. We inform and entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. That's the idea. Divesh, welcome. We are talking unit number 22, conduct 17, respectful interactive live streaming. And I'm very excited that we are halfway to the 35 conducts. We're at conduct 17, and we've already hit the hard way in terms of unit. That was unit 20. Now we are at unit 22. So, so it's very interesting indeed, and we're making progress. And I don't know about you, Divesh and Maynard. Welcome, Maynard. I have a sense that we are together with our listeners reaching the level of mastery in terms of this weekly talk. How do you feel?
Evening, Sam, and evening to the listeners. Yes, indeed. For me, we've reached a peak when we hit 20. So
Mm.
now, when I look at it as a milestone, we kind of going downhill, but not in a bad way. We pick up speed, we pick up momentum. And of course, we've got those 21 other skills, lessons, do's and don'ts that we've shared with our listeners. And rightfully so, we've also enriched our own understanding of each of those modules that we have gone through, Sam. So it's a forever learning experience as well that we're trying to share, not only from the digital streaming or online digital streaming mastery program, but for a lot of the modules which we as Cometsa offer, Sam.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I had a workshop yesterday, and I must say a lot of the stuff that we picked up from the show were showing up, were revealing themselves, and I was quite grateful that I was really very much fully present and intentional in the way of engaging, especially when coming to listening attentively when somebody is talking. that was I was very pleased with myself, I must say. So I've continued getting better at being a good listener.
Yes, and indeed, as we
Maynard, I'm not sure
read.
if you can hear us. Welcome, Maynard.
Good evening. Good evening, Larissa. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Larissa. Hi, Divesh.
Evening, Maynard.
We can
Lovely. I hope my connection went. Can you hear me now?
we can hear you. It can be better, but we can hear you.
No, that's lovely. Thanks, Larissa. Indeed, we come a very long way. It's been a journey up to this far, and yes, marking a halfway mark, it shows that we made a progress. And I believe even our listeners that they have followed us from contact one, they've learned a lot, and definitely they're enjoying the journey with us. And yeah, we are nearing a finishing line now. Let's keep on going.
The previous series can be listened to at insightsonlinepodcast.com. It can only be accessed. It can also be accessed on uh, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. They must just look for Insights Online Podcast, and all the previous episodes are there, and they can catch up and be at the same level with us. Perhaps before we go on to this Unit 22, Conduct 17, I want us just to unpack the title, the topic itself, Respectful Interactive Live Streaming. This describes how the host, the co-host, and anchor conducts the show. And this behavior must be acceptable to all the stakeholders, especially the listeners and the viewers. And of course, the starting point can only be at the values and the principles of the platform itself and those of the host and the co-host and the anchor, or even those of the show and the program, meaning that each show is structured for a particular purpose and it has the do's and don'ts over and above the overall do's and don'ts of our series or platform, the live streaming mastery. One must be mindful of those and then always ask himself or herself the question as to who judges whether the show or the program is respectful or not. That means we always put the listeners in mind, and they might be not necessarily the only one that judge that, but in many cases they are the key. So they will either sometimes we always say people act rather than talking. They either leave the show, or hopefully, if we are lucky, they will send comments on the fact that they don't find the show to be aligned with their expectations in terms of what they know about the values and the principles of the show. I don't know your view on that, Divesh.
Yes, indeed, Sam. My view as well is that the approach is not necessarily just for this specific aspect of respect, but it starts with the platform, of course, and the studio's got its rules. We've iterated this in our previous modules, and of course, as a host, as a DJ, that's part of that platform. You have to firstly adhere to their rules, and then you as a person as well, you should have your own rules in terms of how you address people, how you deal with situations, and definitely most importantly, the audience.
Yeah, yeah. Maynard, any view on that? I'm not sure whether Maynard can hear us. Can you hear me, Maynard? Your view on the subject of being holding a show in a respectful manner. It's something that we
And
say.
Larissa?
Yeah, we can hear you. What is your view on that? Thanks, Divesh.
Oh yes. No, thanks, Tadessa. My line was cutting off, but yes, I heard you on the subject matter line. But like, it's always good to have a good understanding of the subject matter itself, so that like when you discuss the matter, so our listeners can also learn one or two things out of the show itself.
Yeah, but the key thing is who judges whether the show is respectful or not, and what makes the show disrespectful. I think that's the topic. But I think we highlight that. We just say that this being the trainer show, we must be mindful that we might not know who actually will judge you being disrespectful or not. And we are saying that the guideline will be for you to remember the values that the show or the platform stands for, and those principles, and of course the do's and don'ts that we are covering in the series, because they are governed and they decided on the basis of the values. But anyway, that's the point. The second point that I want us to look at is looking at the topic. It says interactive, which suggests that a number of two or more people that are engaging in a conversation, and that conversation is back and forth. It's not necessarily just a monologue. I think that is the underlying factor there, colleagues, that it's different to where let's say you're reading the news or you are announcing something and you're not expecting any engagement, so it wouldn't be interactive. But this particular topic we're having is we want to if we say it's interactive, it should be experienced as such, as being interactive. So in
Yes,
other ways,
that is
this is the nature of the show is minute, I'll let you in. I'll just hold on there. The nature of the show is interactive. So that is the decision we've taken. We're gonna go on an interactive session. That means the regular listeners or viewers will most likely then expect it to be in that way. And then, of course, it could be interactive in the sense that they us right now sitting in the studio, in this virtual studio, engaging. We are sharing views and we are allowing each other to bring in the input, colleagues. So decisive nature of the show. Mena?
yes. In terms of the interactive and the rest, indeed, the show will be tailored in that fashion, that it has to be an interactive show. But whether who is going to judge it, whether it's a respective manner. Firstly, like ourselves as our the host and the co-host, we have got the guidelines that are guiding us on how to run the show, so that it can still in line with our rules, and we still have the production managers on the background, like you and the Sam and the others on the background, that will always tell us after the show and review the show, that like this is how the show went, whether we were out of the line or we were still in line with the show. And obviously, again, our listeners out there will be also the judges of the show on how the show has been, even though some of the listeners might not give us the feedback, but we will depend mainly on the team that we work together with, even other colleagues that will be listening as well. They can still be the judges and come and give us the review of that particular show.
Mm, mm. Yeah. Let me welcome Emmanuel and Marco. Welcome, colleagues. Emmanuel.
Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, sir.
Welcome
Divesh,
on board.
and Maynard. Good evening. Good evening, colleagues.
Good evening. Hi, Manuel. Aladram Muda.
Good evening. How
Yeah,
is
evening.
everybody?
Welcome, Marco.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Everybody is well. We're happy to have you.
We are well, Marco. Thank you very much. Looking forward to a wonderful show.
Lovely. Welcome, Emmanuel. We're happy to have you too. Somehow we were talking on
Thank
top
you,
of each
Sam.
other, but I
Thank
hope
you.
it's clear now. there's a delay on the line. Francistown is very far, my friend. You have a delay connection. Okay, I don't know whether it's only myself, Divesh. I think there's a delayed connection.
No, it's on Emmanuel's side, Sam.
Okay, all right. Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically those are the two characteristics of the show we're discussing today: respectful and interactive. But I think the interactiveness of it's very important because that's how it should be experienced. Because it's through interactive engagement that the message is magnified.
Just a point from my side on that relevant issue, Sam. When we bring in the aspect of interactivity, you as the host, I would think, would be the key person to maintain that level of respect that the listeners are already expecting, as well as the commitment that you've given to the platform in terms of adhering to the levels of respect that the platform, the channel, the radio station, whatever the case may be, expects from you. And because of the interactivity, sometimes you might have a guest who becomes disrespectful in some aspect, especially since you've got interaction going to listeners who might be from various different backgrounds, cultures, maybe even understanding in terms of language might be at different levels. So, you as the host, you have been given that baton to say, you got to maintain that level of respect. The host, for example, you might find that the guest himself may not be fully cognizant of certain levels of respect. He may think what he said is respectful, but from a different cultural perspective, for example, he might actually be disrespectful to one of the listeners. So, in terms of interaction, there's this extra level of moderation, if I can put it that way, that you as the host would definitely need to be cognizant of, Sam.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess the nature of the show, it's one subject during the briefing of the the guest that you will bring forward. Am I right?
Yeah,
And the
yes,
values and the
indeed.
principles that the platform.
Yes, it's part and parcel of one of the most important aspects which we keep reiterating amongst our modules, the importance of planning, Sam.
Yeah, yeah. And the briefing the guest is part of the planning, and such unique nature of the show and the program must be brought in, and then during the show it's very easy to then, without necessarily having to remind the guest, that the guest will probably most likely comply with your style of engagement. So yeah, welcome Rabula. We're glad to have you on board. Let me give you guys just to give your own remarks as well. Margot, Emmanuel, Rabula. We have already jumped onto the show and into the topic, but we haven't allowed you to check in and greet the listeners. But few seconds, if you don't mind, just to feel part of us. Rabula.
Thank you, Sam. I hope I'll be okay. It looks like I'm going to have a flu. This afternoon, I was sitting in a meeting from 1 until around about 6 o'clock or after 6, I'm not sure. And the area was cold, even if they tried to switch on the aircon to be hot, but still, my nose indicate to me, hey, you might have a flu. And I've got 8 o'clock meeting tomorrow morning. So it's one of those little things which the person needs to manage and very effectively. But other than that, I think I'm okay. Just need to nurse the body to take me to the next level. Thank you, guys.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Rabula. Margot.
Good evening, colleagues. Good evening, listeners. I just had a wonderful and quiet weekend, and today I took it very easy. I was just indoors doing some research in some different topics, and listening to some news. Today, I came into contact with the speech by Patrice Lumumba, and his theme actually is that all the African countries are captured and they are ruled by foreign countries. He says colonization is not gone. We are still under colonization, and very, very soon we will be under full colonization. Otherwise, I'm fine, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful show.
Thank you, thank you. So Patrice Lumumba challenged you there to be on the active side of things and be critical of what the continent has gone through. Thank you for sharing, Rambutai. Maybe that's a topic for another day. When he's fully hosting one of those controversial topics as a host and as an anchor, and how will you have positioned that conversation is one of the challenges of hosts of shows. Am I right?
You're right. You're right. I'm sure as we continue with our interactions, one day we will come into that where a person is a host of that. One is a show of similar to the one that I listened to today.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm. Was it interactive as well, or was just a presentation?
It was a presentation followed by questions. So yeah, it was interactive somehow.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Marco. Emmanuel, how is Francis Town?
Yeah. Good evening, colleagues. Emmanuel and Jang here. And we're tuning in from Francistown. Francistown is good, Sam. We actually been on the long holidays. So yesterday and today it was a holiday, so I was just home. I was working from home, but otherwise I had a good day, and I just look forward to this session.
Yeah, we must give you the opportunity to talk about your conference as well. I looked at the lineup. I actually even downloaded the post you did on Facebook. Wow, what a lineup! If the listeners don't mind, I want to give you just 1-2 minutes just to tell us tell us what is the conference about. I mean, that's like who is who of the organization development space.
Yeah, the conference is actually organized by Center for Organization and Leadership Development in partnership with Organization Leadership and Development Network, OLTN, in Zimbabwe. Both companies are registered in Zimbabwe, so it has its space in Botswana, and I'm in membership in Botswana and almost 21 countries. So part of the mandate, what we are doing is spreading the word or the organization development as not only as a profession, but living through the profession. So we do this by actually hosting these conferences, engaging in research and development, actually. And then one of the things that we do is to do a lot of call for articles in the space of organization development. So the conference that is coming here in Gaborone, Botswana on the 29th to the 30th August is actually on whole system thinking, mindset and heart set transformation with a focus on sustainable development. So part of it is now whole system thinking is one of the principles that we do as organization development consultants or organization development professionals, where the focus is now looking at an organization not as a separate entity, but as a dialogue entity between the individual as the employee and now the organization. So for this organization to exist, there should be an employee and then the organization, then there should be a correlation between the two. So that's the whole system thinking. So we are incorporating such practices. Now we're bringing this conference to share ideas with international speakers from different part of this world. We have delegates from America. We have delegates from the Sweden. Alet Vonk should be arriving here. Then we have the team from Zimbabwe also, who are always also going to be part of this conference. Then the Botswana as well. And then also from South Africa, we have a few colleagues who are also joining in. So it's a diverse convening of professionals who are going to be sharing on different topics, especially now that Botswana government has now embarked on the whole system, mindset and reset agenda. So those are the things that we are now focusing into as part of this conference. So we are now trying to liven up the OD profession in Africa, which has been long confused with the HR profession. So for those who have HR background, then we talk about organization development. They think these are the two same things, but they are two different things with different approaches on how you do it in and how you incorporate them in your organization. So that's a conference and then what we want to achieve with the conference. Thank you, sir.
What are the dates?
It's on the 29th to 30th August.
29th to the 30th of August in Gaborone.
In Gaborone, Botswana. That's in Avani Hotel.
Yeah, sorry, I call it Gaborone. It's Gaborone. Okay. So how do people get hold of information? Is there a website? Is there a website that they can go to
Yes.
and then, if possible, register?
There's a link that is there on my social media platforms, Emmanuel and Jang. Then there's also a link for registration on Center OLD. The Center for Organization Leadership Development. That's the link. I will share it here as well with you, Sam, and so that we can also
you can share it in the chat here. Yeah, share it in the chat here that people can look. But as you said, people can go to your Facebook page, Emmanuel and Jang, NJANG, and he has posted the lineup of great speakers there. I'm tempted to say we must keep on giving you the opportunity until the workshop happen, and so that those who are listening to us and are in Botswana and want to attend, they can also attend. So you are part of us. We need to also
thank you so much.
affirm your work you are doing out there, and well done in that good work. Thank you so much. Let's come back to our topic. Yeah, so
sorry, Sam. I thought because I'm very close to Kosikolo Kari Sichele, I will be getting a special invitation, but doesn't look like it. It's okay.
Khosho Jang is listening.
We'll have to reach out to Jose Kholokari, then obviously arrange a visit here.
2 days ago, I posted on my WhatsApp status my sort of photo with him. So it remind Emmanuel that, no, don't forget that I'm very close to Ralph.
That's the real family, or one of the guys that I respect here. So yeah.
Wow.
We are definitely going to reach out to him.
But well done, Emmanuel. I mean, really, I will share this lineup with colleagues.
Thank you so much.
Here, and maybe, if possible, if you give me some few write-ups and you give me a permission, we can also put it on the Cometa social media pictures with those registration details for those who want to attend. Please do that. So let's help you spread the word.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely do that.
I know one of the things we are discussing in this topic is that it's very important to stick to the topic of the show. But this one, I think the listeners will agree with us that it's the kind of a workshop or conference that is worthy of sneaking into our agenda here. I hope they don't mind, Divesh. Yeah.
It's also part of the topic anyway, Sam, that we must be respectful as well, that there's something important going on with one of our co-hosts rather. So that was something that we could share.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we were talking about, we were still unpacking this topic to say respectful. This is a mouthful when you say a show must be respectful and it must be interactive. We did say that respectful is always keeping in view the people that are participating, and mostly being your listeners or your viewers if you are streaming a video. And I argue that if you have really undergone the training that we are putting through and you know all the do's and don'ts, without you knowing, you're most likely to be seen to be a very respectful host. Respectfully doesn't mean that you are not asking and engaging in a powerful manner. It just means that you are talking to fellow human being, and fellow human being are listening, and you are mindful of their values and the principles and their beliefs, which are also justifiable. Marco? I thought you wanted to come in the Ndadera.
No, I'm listening, Prasem.
You're listening. Okay, beautiful. And then, of course, looking at the topic again is a streaming that is live. Thanks, Emmanuel, for sharing the link. So yeah, the streaming. We used to talk about broadcasting. You remember the discussion we had earlier on in this series when we spoke about the online radio versus traditional radio, and the podcasting, as well as the modern platform through which knowledge is shared. I think when we talk streaming, it's really just a platform, but I think there's a sophistication with it. Unlike the traditional radio broadcasting, here you have a platform or platforms used for streaming, and that could be this podcast, this Podbean platform on which Commercial Radio is streaming, or it could be YouTube, it could be X, it could be Facebook. But the uniqueness of streaming is that it goes, and we'll come to that point, it goes viral within seconds, instantaneously, especially if you're going live. Anybody that actually tuned onto the Podbean network who is able to pick up this conversation, and they are able to share it to the entire world, and you are able to receive new uninvited people, especially if your streaming is not private but public, that could immediately be part of your conversation. I think there we just need to be, as a host of a streaming show, be aware that you might have studied the audience and understood their nature and their culture and their belief. But because it's a streaming on a social media platform, technologies, you could actually end up having people that you never actually had in mind when you were planning to use the platform. So these are mass media platforms, and they are distributed widely, as I said, with the possibility of them going viral, negatively or positively, depending on how you are being experienced. So you can't be so relaxed and say, I have planned, I know what to expect. Meanwhile, people are busy sharing your stream and people are tuning in, and all of a sudden you are listened from all over the world. It is therefore for this reason that the manner of engagement with your viewers, listeners, and co-hosts must be respectful. Why it must be respectful? Because the reputational damage might be massive if your behavior is not intentional and measured, and this messages or the content get archived immediately and be redistributed later on as a recording or as a stream. So this does not suggest, however, that you must be too nervous to the point of being unnatural. And it's for that reason why we are offering this training or this awareness through this digital online streaming mastery. That take yourself serious, because you can never be ready enough for the nature of the platforms that you are using. So however, we encourage you that if you have gone through training of do's and don'ts, they follow this conduct, you should be comfortable in your practice. that you are most likely to have a very narrow margin of being wrong. And I almost there emphasizing the rationality of attending sessions like this, colleagues. Any reflection on that?
Yes, thanks,
Divesh?
Larissa.
Yes, Menat?
Yes, I wanted to say like when coming to the streaming, it is a very sensitive platform indeed, where you need to be mindful of your audience on how you post yourself and what are you going to give it to them. And again, the streaming, if you are streaming live, it's even more sensitive because you cannot reverse whatever you set online if it's a live show. So it is one of those sensitive platforms. It is a good thing to do because you can reach out to most audiences out there, but you still need to be cognizant of what you're going to say on those streaming platforms. They are very sensitive platforms to run on. And most people, that's why nowadays they opt to offline, like rather than to go live. So they don't usually go live on their platforms. They record them, edit, and then post them later. So most of the people, they prefer that way rather than to go live, because going live, it becomes too sensitive in most cases.
Yeah. But once again, live shows have got their own uniqueness and their own juices that we need to be part of.
That's why we are going through all these conducts ourselves, so that we can be well equipped to go live in other platform without any fear. Because you are well equipped. You won't have to go different directions. So you need to equip yourself, be confident enough that you can run live show. In that case, then you are good to go. Ourselves, I mean, like, we've been doing this practice for some time now. So ourselves, I think we are good to go.
Yeah. It's almost like practicing for a match, Maynard. You're going to play a cup final, and in the week, nice practicing indoors, the closed doors with your colleagues. But come on weekend when you show at that stadium, there's 70,000 people.
Yeah, no, for sure. Practice makes perfect. If you invest your time on practice during training, you will see this result. You just reminded me of our little boys. They lost their previous match, and we were on their neck with the coach. Coach, what is happening? Because this is the result of your training now that we see here. What did you do on training? It means we didn't do something right on your training. Should you do something right on training, it means the result will also show. And their last weekend match, then they won it. Then we told him, you say, it means you rectified something somewhere. That's how it is. It's the nature of practice. The practice makes perfect. Even in mathematics, you practice it, you get it right. It's the whole philosophy.
Yeah, if you keep on hiding behind pre-recording, life is real.
Unfortunately, that is true. I mean, like, you can't hide behind the pre-recordings all the time, because they will invite you to one of the live streaming radios or televisions. Now you've got nowhere to hide. So unfortunately, now you have to go there and speak your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so being talking about live and non-live or pre-recording, let's talk about that. When we look at our do's and don'ts, which are more so for live and which ones are more so for pre-recording, or are they all equally applicable? Obviously, you might not remember all of them, but in principle.
Well, Sam, from my side, yes, they are applicable for both situations, but not equally so. Like Maynard had raised a point when he was talking just now. Um, you might have to be more cognizant when you're in a live environment as opposed to a pre recorded environment where you can actually edit certain mishaps out of the recording itself before you share it with the audience. but also in terms of a streaming environment, whether it's live, whether it's pre-recorded. Um, when we speak of respect, it's also broader than just the stakeholders that's concerned, namely the listener, the guest, co-host on the show. It's even including, because as you mentioned, streaming can be anywhere in any part of the world. You have to also be respectful of the laws and regulations in other countries. For example, you might find that you're talking about something that's sensitive or viewed taboo in light of another country's regulations or laws. And even if you'd have a live show and you'd upload, you might find your recording actually gets removed or is not made available in certain jurisdictions in the world. So respect, as we've outlined in most of our modules, the aspect that we outline, and today we talk about respect. There's more dimensions that we would have to actually learn as we go through our experiences. That level of understanding can be expanded, Sam.
You just brought a very important point here about your show in other countries. It could be banned because of the things you have said that are not very much well received culturally in that country. So we could almost talk about the consideration of diversity and inclusion as you produce this content that is going to go viral through this digital online streaming platform. Very, very powerful. Thank you so much for that. Because sometimes we tend to think that we're only talking to our own people. Meanwhile, because of these social media platforms, there are no borders in terms of the content. Your content get downloaded in other parts of the world for its relevance and for its importance and also for interest. So you almost have what I will call imaginary audiences that you may not even have had before, and they may not even have known you, but they got, because of the life, the state we live in life, they are regularly listening to your platform. Any other comments from other colleagues? This is very important. I think we need to overemphasize this necessarily.
But subsequent to that, Sam, it also have what I call reputational risk, you as a streamer and also the platform. So there's one area you need to be cognizant of, that you're building a brand. In building a brand, you take cognizance of whatever is there, either within your parameters or even outside your parameters. So that also adds sort of a precautionary approach in both live and non-live streaming. So it also sort of, you need to be cognizant of that. But the practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the better you are, and the better you become.
Indeed. And by the way, Rabula, that's why some people or some platforms put a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. They will say, we're going to have that Rabula hosting this program here at Comesa Radio Worldwide. However, please take note that Rabula's views represent his own self, himself, not that of the platform.
It goes also to, if you listen to the live shows, especially on SABC, they'll say whatever the listener say is a listener's view, is not SABC's view. So that's an issue of addressing its reputation in that space.
Beautiful. I like these perspectives because indeed our focus here is to develop master hosts and co-hosts and anchors who develop brand that we always want to continue associating with as Comesa Radio Worldwide. And they themselves also have they must have that ambition to become the gurus in the industry of streaming. And one day perhaps they could find themselves somewhere at CNN or Bloomberg or BBC Divesh, I'm quite convinced that the number of do's and don'ts we covered should take people halfway to such reputable platforms or organizations in the media space.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Sam. And what we also almost preaching to our listeners and all the trainers that we're training as well is that you take the do's and don'ts and you use it as a guide. It's your building block. And as you go through the experiences, the exposures, and not necessarily in the online broadcasting environment, which we are focusing in on now, but in other areas of life, other areas of business, other areas of career, you adjust and you adapt those do's and don'ts to your particular environment that you're in, Sam.
Mm, absolutely. So, yeah. So just be mindful of life and non-life. But the fact is, at the end of the day, the consumers of the content, it doesn't matter whether they consumed it live or they can consume it as a podcast. The impact and the effect is the same. Great. So let's open a conversation a little bit around 6 points here. Interesting enough about conversation itself. So when you are having these conversations on the platform with your guest, there are things that you need to orientate yourself around in order for you to be respectful. The first one is being kind. Secondly, being courteous. Third, listening to the other people's perspective, and then respecting the person, their personal beliefs, and being compassionate. And of course, don't get into argument with them because it's not about you and the guest, but it's about the audience. So again, we have covered a number of do's and don'ts before. I think this is now a way of coaching. You're going to go into a show, and we say, just keep in the mind that at the end of the day, it must be pleasurable show. As you are nicely engaging, being kind to your guest, you are rapping on the good feelings of the listeners. And then being courteous is what the listeners obviously will expect you to be. Even if the debate and the conversation is hot, there must still be that sense that you are listening to the person's view, you are respecting them, and you are being compassionate with them because they are fellow human beings. And this can be very hard if you get too excited and you become very personal about the views and forgetting that it's not about you. Margot, what's your reflection there? I mean, I'm sure Patrice Lumumba, when he was addressing those people as you were listening on the recording, he must have said some of these things even smiling and laughing and being jolly. Was that the case or not? I think Marco is not able to hear me. Any reflection on that? Is that something to do with the personality of you as a host, or is there something that you can mimic, if I may use that word, even though you might not have that personality, or is something that is integral to the nature of being a host or a host? If you don't have them, therefore you don't really qualify.
I think, Sam, I'm going to go back to saying practice makes perfect. You can be born with a talent, but if you don't practice on the talent is not even worth being a talent. So in a conversation, you practice that, you become subconsciously conscious about them. It makes your life much more easy. So even if the argument comes out, you subconsciously raise it. I do not have to argue.
Yes.
But I can redivert the argument into a courteous and affirm way of raising the point rather than having an argument. So the more you practice, the better you become. The better. This is one area which I'm learning every day is listening. Listening. That will cover the rest of being kind, be courteous, be compassionate, and don't get in the argument if you listen as much as you could.
Mm.
That's sort of my contribution in this aspect.
Wow, I love the point you raise, becoming subconsciously conscious about it. Wow, I've learned something there. That's almost like that unconscious competency, right?
Yes. Yes, you got it right here.
Mm.
Because
Divesh, you
because
wanted in there. Yes, Rabula.
because because I use the word of saying once you become subconsciously conscious, it becomes a habit.
Uh-huh. Hey, you are unleashing powerful, powerful concepts there, Rabula. Yeah. From being subconsciously conscious, it becomes a habit due to repetitive way of practicing it, right?
Yes. So in addition, once you become subconsciously conscious, now you become an expert in that field. And once you become expert, it's easier to expand or explore it, but
Yeah.
within the
Yeah.
parameters
Yeah.
of a conversation. But as long as you don't
Yeah.
practice, take the soccer player as an example. For as
Yeah.
long as that person has got a talent, and that talent
Mm.
doesn't practice it,
Mm.
probabilities of exploring things which are imaginative as a soccer player are becoming minimum because it doesn't practice. But if it's practicing, they become possible.
Yeah. Yeah. You remind me of my favorite book by John C. Maxwell titled Talent is Not Enough. Exactly the points you are raising, that you're born with this talent, but for it to reach its maximum level, you've got to go and practice and learn more.
I've read that book several times. Thanks.
We miss you there, Abula.
Now, I said I've read John Maxwell's book Talent is Not Enough several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very good book.
And if you go back and let's say simple thing, because I used to take it in a soccer field.
Yeah.
Those players who used to have a talent, and because they believe they've got a talent, they never practice the others. And I use the word alcohol, damage their talent. They haven't gone very far. Hence, we say talent is not enough.
Mm. Beautiful indeed. Divesh, you wanted to come in there.
Yes, Sam. In relation to Lumumba that you were talking about, I just wanted to re-emphasize one of the points we've made in our previous modules, where if you look at someone who's an expert, he as Rapula has also outlined, Lumumba would be expected to be a guru, a leadership persona, and you wouldn't necessarily, if you starting out in your journey of online broadcasting or as a speaker for that matter, you wouldn't be able to do the type of thing that he would. He can write his own rules because he's already gone through the journey. He's paved his way to becoming a guru. And in line with our topic for today, where we speak of respect, I can even say that Lumumba would disrespect some groups because some of his points will be very, very strongly against the views of others.
Yeah.
So before we can get to that point where we can respectfully be disrespectful, we still need to travel that journey to get to a point where we are regarded as gurus and we can sort of start then instilling our own personal levels or rules onto others. Thanks, Sam.
I like I like your the way you package things for us all the time, and Divesh, and thanks for continuing to do that, because you have just put it so nicely that you've got to get to the level of mastery where you could actually respectfully being disrespectful because of who you are, because of the stripes that you have earned. And I think I hear you very well, Divesh, cautioning us and the listeners that don't just admire somebody and then immediately tomorrow want to do that somebody what he's doing. For you, it will be taken very, very differently and wrong, badly by the public because you don't have the roof, or what we call it, the persona of that person. Yes, you can admire to get to that level where he can tell people off. I mean, you remember very well our own former president, Nelson Mandela. He defied the norms of presidents. I mean, who goes and see the Queen of England with the shirts hanging outside the pants, and then we call it the Madiba shirts in Madiba style, Rapula?
Yes, you can say Madiba style. It's a way of saying you introduce something else and you excel on it, and then it becomes and I don't want to use with an icon, but it becomes an envying for somebody else to portray,
Emulate.
portray that posture in the society, which is been respected. It goes back to the same thing of practice makes perfect.
Yeah. Wow. That was great. Thank you so much. I hope the listeners are picking up the gist of where we're coming from. Now, let's bring matters closer home. I picked up this in the social media platforms. So if we're saying that we want to be the type of host of shows or even the moderators of shows in a respectful manner, there are certain obvious things that are expected of us as professionals. And I've just listed some of them here from what I picked up on the social media platforms, about 7 of them. They call them the respectful conducts. One is procedure, and we can talk about that in terms of your show. I'm sure, Divesh, you have points that's there. What is the procedure A to Z of a successful show that is respectful? Then the second one, which is common, is punctuality. Is punctuality in all the way in terms of the milestones of the show or even the hosting of the show. Thirdly, is the information. Making information available so that you capacitate and empower yourself and the other people, rather than trying to think and talk in the middle of the show, because you are bound to make a mockery of yourself. Kendra, being candid with your views and not shy away from the truth and tell the truth as it is, respectful, of course, and not being fake. And then of course the third one, consideration, being considerate of the others, and also being measured in the way you push your views against other people's views. And then of course acknowledgement. I like this one because you could be having a very strong view for you as a person, and in the middle of the show you get engaged with a subject matter expert or even the listeners, and they convince you otherwise, and then you realize that actually your view was not the correct one, and therefore it's courteous for you to actually acknowledge that fact and also accept that you have been made to see a different perspective, and as a result you must be thankful to the other person and being your guest or co-host or even the listeners that made you see that new way, because that is respectful, that is honesty, and that is just human to do. And lastly, being attentive. Being respectful means you've got to be fully present, got to be attentive, and you have to be intentional about those behaviors and practice. As Rapula was saying that these days he practices listening so intentionally that it almost is becoming his way of engaging in conversations. Any reflections on those 7 points of respectful conduct? Anyone?
I think for me is acknowledgement. If you acknowledge your listeners, you acknowledge your audience, you acknowledge your peers whom you are having a conversation with, it makes life easier for them to say, I'm home. And being home, you're going to engage with compassionate, be kind, information is going to flow. And key to that is one of the things of punctuality. If you say the meeting is 8 o'clock, let it be 8 o'clock. If you are running later than 8 o'clock, let it be your responsibility to advise the next person whom is hosting you that you are late. Don't say when the meeting is about to start, where is Sam? No, Sam is coming, but Sam doesn't tell us where it is. It's more of showing the respect and appreciate the next person whom you are working with. But
Is it you who yesterday said to me that being in time is about respecting the other people that are part of the meeting, right?
Yes. Just, and that's why I'm saying, if you knew, I'm using 8 o'clock now, if you know the meeting is 8 o'clock, and you realize that based on various factors, you won't make it 8 o'clock, it should be your responsibility to make sure you inform the host or the audience. Sorry, I'm running late. In so doing, you become considerate, and you show a sign of respect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. It's wonderful to bring those practical examples so that the message is loud and clear. Thank you for that. Any other view? Any other reflection on those 7 points?
Yes,
Yes,
I think
yes, Maynard, you can go carry on.
yes, I wanted to go with the punctuality, like central on a live streaming. Time is very important. If we go in live at 8, we have to go live at 8. Unfortunately, that's the nature of live streaming. And even the time, like to end the show, if the show is scheduled for 1 hour, it will have to be exactly for 1 hour, regardless of the heated discussions that come along. We still need to be within the lines. And yes, definitely, and the attention of the listeners, you need to keep them in line with the show all the time.
Indeed. Whatever it is that you have in preparing for the show communicated, you need to try adhere to that as much as possible. Divesh?
Yes, thank you, Sam. In terms of the acknowledgement, I've got a different dynamic on that where you not only acknowledge something when you have agreed or you've realized the point that the guest is making or the co-host might actually be making. You can also acknowledge something even though you didn't agree with it for the basic the need of not getting into an argument with them. You give them the respect by acknowledging their viewpoint, and you still not necessarily agreeing or accepting, but acknowledgement could mean that you're just respecting their different view.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, I there's enlightenment there. You don't just acknowledge because you have been convinced otherwise. You do acknowledge the manner in which the fellow human being conducted themselves in that contestation or argument. Because at the end of the day, it is not personal, but it is factual. The objective are common, is to share the insights and the views. And sometimes if there's contestation, it's actually even healthy because that broaden the knowledge and the understanding of the listeners. Yeah, I'm looking at time. We in the last part of our series. Another research piece that I have here also from the social media. I came across this 11 tips for hosting an interactive live streaming session. You can check them on the website www.restream.io. Restream is RESTREAM.io. www.restream.io. They are saying that one of the toughest tasks to overcome with live streaming is keeping an audience engaged. Going live presents more opportunities with viewers than almost any other type of content, but only if you use the right techniques to boost engagement. Perhaps before I read the 11 tips, we need to discuss a little bit the concept of engagement. Let's take, for instance, live streaming is part of what we call social media. So let's broaden the definition of engagement, and let's check if we are aligned there. If we take social media platform, so Divesh post something on social media. So that is the Divesh. So Divesh is the content generator, what we call the content generator, and in this case, let's assume he is the originator of the content. It could be also here on the show, Divesh is hosting the show with the guest. So Divesh together with the host, they are the content generators and they are the originators because this is the first time they actually hosting this conversation. And therefore that the particular conversation is fresh. Then I come across this content, either I tune in and then I listen. The first thing, listening, that is an engagement at first person level. In other words, I'm listening and I'm getting the information. I'm really being educated here. So I'm engaged with the content. And then the next level of content, once I'm so inspired, I then press like button, like colleagues have been doing here, Rapula, Divesh. So the liking the show or the post, that is another level of engagement. And that is that's what tells us that the listeners and the audience or the readers are really engaged. In other words, they've been attracted to what we are sharing with them. So they show engagement by form of liking. The next kind of engagement is now, wow, this is beautiful. Then they share the show, like I think a couple of times so as well in here. Share the show. This is quite a very powerful way of engaging, and we always saying that when they share the show, we call it there's a word for it. What they curate? It's called curating, but actually curating is more when you share the show with the additional comments by yourself. Then we say that's curating. In other words, you say, hey, I like what I'm hearing from these guys at Commercial Radio Worldwide. You might be very interested to tune in because they are discussing a topic that is very pertinent, and I know you will love it because it's relevant to you. That's creating. And that is the most highly distributed action on social media. The other one will be commenting. So the commenting is another way of engaging. In other ways, that is commenting without creating now, without sharing, which makes it creating. Here you're just commenting. Thank you so much. I really like your perspective. You have educated me. So that is really what we mean by engagement, because sometimes if we look at the narrow definition of engagement, you might just be focusing on a very one aspect of engagement, and if that does not actually meet your expectations, then you say, but this was not a successful show. But when you look at it broadly, even beyond the show, into when it becomes an episode or a podcast, it's always one statistics I like very much is always to check how many downloads were made of the show on the podcast, because now it has reached a level of lifelong long shelf life, but it continues to be loaded forever. Let me pause there and ask for any reflection on the topic of engagement, which is different to engagement on a live face-to-face platform session. Is that how we have always understood it? Or is there something that I've left out that could even enrich my definition of engagement? Perhaps the other engagement is quoting the content. Yes?
I think the way you have put it, this kind of engagement, what is important about it is that it is prompt. Once you communicate, you get a response immediately. And therefore, it is useful even in cases of communicating emergencies, engaging on the basis of emergencies. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's a two-way
And
process that is very, very useful.
Yeah. And I guess that's what makes an impact, because now you are sharing with the bigger audience and you are inviting other people to come and learn what you are learning.
Yes.
Mm. And for the platform, that's wonderful, because next time those people that they've seen this through the Deramutas sharing, next time then they follow the platform, and when we go live, then they pick it up. That's why I like what they are saying, that is the most powerful way of engaging is a live show, live streaming. And I think, as Maynard was saying, yes, Marco?
Yeah, if you post something on my status, if you look at the number of people who are engaged with your post, so it serves as one way of communicating one message that you like it to be available to a big number of people. Because as I said, you are able to reach out, and at the same time, you are able to get a feedback from the people immediately.
Yes. Indeed. And that's the power of social media platform.
Yes.
Great. So let's share the 11 tips that they say you must take note of if you want to host an interactive live streaming session. The first one, number one, is research your audience. I think there's one contact in our series that talked about knowing your audience. So the starting point of knowing your audience so that you can have a better engagement is to research them. And I guess in the process of researching, you are looking for certain things there, like you need to know your purpose. You need to determine the demographics, the type of people that tune onto your show, and then, of course, identify the kind of challenges that they may have so that you can make your show appropriate. And to get the above information in terms of the purpose, the demographics, and the challenges, they're saying that if you are serious about your show, you might do a little bit of things like surveys and polls. You can do a poll and to find out from the people what they think about the topic that you are about to host or you've just hosted. And then, of course, you can go on the social media as well, post something in the social media before the show, and see how many people will want to come. And then, of course, forums. We have, for instance, at comedzamember.com on our membership platform, we have launched the blogs, we have launched the surveys there. And just before the show this evening, I did what we call quick events. And I know that some of the people who are listening to us right now, they got the invite via that type of a platform. So there's a lot of tools that you can use to engage people. And again, if this is your business and you really want to be a mastermind and you really want to make business in this business of communication, hosting shows, you better take some time in researching your audience and not taking them for granted. The second point, any comment on that one? I'm mindful of time. Let me go through them, and then you will comment as part of your checking out. The other one, which I like very much, is number 2, is warm up your audience beforehand. And I think here, to simplify it, every now and then, colleagues here, you guys in the live studio with me here, before we go on to the show, I will send you pointers. I don't expect you to go and read and do research, but at least you know you are warmed up, you are anticipatory in terms of what we are going to discuss. But the topic itself, as you share it on social media, it is almost that warming up. But you can also do a little bit more. You can share a questionnaire, you could share a publication, a journal, you could share a video that's related to your show just before you go onto a show. And I think there's a learning for me, because I think if we can do more of that, we could actually even get bigger audience than we do. But anyway, warm them up, don't pounce on them. They mustn't hear about the topic when the show starts. They must have been enticed prior to the show starting. Point number 3 is about planning the activities for your audience. Now, this is the highest level of interactive show. If we were on Zoom, for instance, we can actually invite people to come onto the platform, and we could even go do some breakaway sessions and send them quizzes and ask them to reflect on that. I think that is something that we must all strive to learn. There are a lot of tools on the technology platforms that you can use to do that instantaneously. Of course, it's a matter of getting used to them and also accessing them, making them available. The fourth point in terms of tips for hosting an interactive live stream is interact with your audience constantly. That means also, as a Rabula, let's say you are a regular host and you have your own social media platform. It's important to keep on reminding them and say, guys, remember, I'm live on Tuesday. Don't forget. This coming Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about. And then also go say, hey, last week we had this particular show. This is what we were discussing. If you want more of that, go to insightsonlinepodcast.com and you can pick up there. So don't always visit your audience. Be part of them. That's basically what they're saying. And then you will increase your engagement level of your audience. Number 5, they say, if it's a streaming, video streaming on the Zoom, for instance, you must prepare appealing visuals. So if you have some nice pictures that shows what you are talking about, it's good to share them, because sometimes they say, not sometimes, it actually is believed that pictures talk more than words. So yeah, it's good to have visuals, even if you're talking 5 points, to have them on a slide and then bullet point, show them. That way the subconscious mind absorbed much more effective than when they only hear words, because people learn differently. Some people learn through pictures, some learn through words, some learn through videos. So just be mindful of that fact. Point number 6 is they say craft a powerful intro. I would want to believe that we're doing some nice intros because we always talk about what's going on in our world, and that Marcos talked about Patrice Lumumba. That was a catchy, and even Umpile commented on that on a WhatsApp, Marco. So, so that was a nice. It's like, wow, you made me wake up a little bit. So people don't underestimate the introductions. They are very, very important.
Oh, very
Congratulations on that one.
important. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And then point 7, they say, please stick to the promised topic. And that's why you heard me apologizing that I sort of like took a detour and asked Emmanuel to talk about the conference that he's organizing. But at the same time, then in respect of our audience, I then apologize. And of course, as Divesh affirmed it as well. He say we've got to honor one of us when he's doing good work out there and share the good work that they're doing with this platform, and that's exactly what we did. But in principle, it's very important to stick to the topic because some people put time aside based on what you said you were going to talk about, and if you don't address that topic, then when they do their own reflections and review of your show, they might feel that you wasted their time. Point 8, they say that encourage people to stay until the end. So here, you need to have an art of making people stay, and there are many ways of doing that as a host of the show. For instance, those who are regulars of our show, they know that when we check out using that famous model of confirmation, aha moment, take home insights, new practices. Some might just be waiting and see, I want to hear from Rapula based on his contribution in this show. What is going to say is his take home today, or what he's going to say is his new practice as a result of this show so that I can benchmark myself with him. You understand? So something must be interesting in terms of checking out so that people want to stay up to the end. And then, of course, point number 9 is say, please don't focus on selling. So that is basically to say, yeah, by virtue of you being on the platform, people know that you are an expert. So it's not necessary anymore to say, get me, I'm an expert, I can help you. They already know. So basically, I just say that make the show to be a learning platform, and those who need you, they must just know how to find you. You can post your email address or your website or your telephone numbers in the chat box. That's sufficient. So basically, that's what they're saying there. Point number 10, they say that ask your viewers for feedback. I think this is powerful. Sometimes we need to be intentional. Say, guys, give us feedback. We want to know how we have done as the participants in the trainer program. Because not everybody is going to realize that you need the feedback. So if they hear you saying it, then they get emboldened also to give you that feedback because they know you need it. So don't always wait for it to be volunteered. Ask for it. And by the way, I think on behalf of everyone here, please give us feedback. Tell us where we can improve because we want to become better as the facilitators of this the trainer show. Because once we are done, we want to know that there are people that are listening to us that are going to take these insights, and very soon we will meet them in the sector as a host of shows. And then, of course, lastly, they say make it look professional. This one is definitely everything together. Even if you don't meet the standard that you set yourself, but if you show up that you take yourself serious, that you make an effort for your show to be professional, you will be rewarded for that. Yeah, those are the 11 points. Please reflect on them as you check out. Also, telling us what is your confirmation, your aha moment, your take home, your new insights and new practices. I see Marco is ready. Tadramut. I see you are ready to reflect and check out. You may be speaking, but we don't hear you. Maybe you may want to try again, log out, log in. I don't know what the problem is there. But you are there, I can see you. In the meantime, let's get any of the Quadra colleagues, Rapula, Divesh, Menat, to reflect and check out for us.
From my side, Sam, my checkout is that when we talk about respect, whether it's in the online streaming environment or otherwise, we got to firstly adhere to the procedure of the respect the rules of the platform that we are utilizing. Then, as a host, the respect and values that we have internally, and then, of course, the respect of the guest as well as the audience, the environments in which we are streaming. So we got to be cognizant of all those as part of our procedure to make sure that we having a respect across that value chain. Thank you, Sam.
What will you say was confirmed for you, Divesh?
That the modules we keep going through, they're not as simple as we would initially think. As we discuss and share amongst each other, we see other dynamics that are involved in those actual topics.
Mm. Indeed, indeed. Absolutely. The more we talk about them, the more complexity, the complex nature of them show up. I agree with you. I mean, and I think it just shows the power of conversation. Even if you have read about it, the more you talk about these things, the more they become more so real, and they sit in you, and that is really beautiful. Part of this social learning environment and collective learning approach. Thanks, Divesh. I really agree with you on that one.
My take, Sam, is is it my line?
I think I'll just mute the others while you are talking. Rapula can carry on.
Okay. What I say, my take is there is no elevator to success. That simple says everything you do it step by step. So that was my sort of rehash moment of saying always take small steps and you end up being a perfect around those steps.
Mm. Mm. And what was confirmed for you, and what is your take home?
What was confirmed for me is you need to know that the conversation attributes that you have the confirmation.
Yeah.
That kind, be cautious, listeners to the others. That's listening. It's perfect tool to utilize in all perspectives.
Yeah, beautiful. And I, from you, I'm definitely taking away the concept of subconscious conscious. The subconsciously conscious of things. I love that. That's before my checkout. That's my takeaway from this session.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Maynard, you wanted to come there?
Oh yes, Nadisam. To me, I will say like my take for this one is that our show itself has been branded or positioned in a way that they are interactive shows, and our listeners they're already getting used to it. That is an interactive show that we are always having in a daily basis, and the only thing that we always keep on doing is to make sure that we warm up our audience beforehand. Before the show, we always tell them what the show is all about. Today will be the Contact 17. It's all about the respectful interactive. So that's what we always keep on warming them up so that they sit down and get ready for the show, knowing what is next.
Beautiful, beautiful. What was confirmed for you today? Is that what was confirmed for you? Yeah, sure.
No, to me, like what was confirmed that we need to be respectful all the time, and we need to take that into mind all the time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Daderamut?
Yes, yeah, one of the things that I'm enjoying is the kind of colleagues we have in our studio. Yes, I also enjoyed being respectively being respective and also respectively being disrespective. Was it from Rapula?
That was from the Divesh, I think, being respectfully disrespectful. Be disrespectful.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote it down
I
here.
think
So those are the two nuggets I took out. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Respectfully disrespectful. And he was talking about Lumumba being respectfully being disrespectful. Wow. Carry on there, Ramut. I think now I
I
can
don't
see
know
you are
if it's
talking,
me
but you're not.
alone, Prasam. You are no longer audible.
I can hear you. Everyone, Ramut. Anyone who hears me,
Am I
can hear you,
audible?
sir.
Ramut, to carry on, because it looks like
Because I wanted
Divesh,
to comment around
somebody that I can hear
the
you.
way live streaming and the media is evolving. It is evolving very fast because every Monday, every Tuesday, we're getting new knowledge through our shows. Look now, we looked at how live streaming is evolving, and we also looked at how online communication is it's evolving. Today we were able to factor in the importance of, for example, communicating through a WhatsApp, the way it is enabling us to communicate and the way it is enabling us to reach out. So yeah, each and every week we have new knowledge that we are getting through our show. This is very, very interesting. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ndadera Mutla. Indeed, that's how I feel as well. We did last week talk about this is a social learning platform. You can also describe it as a collective learning because we are learning from each other. Thank you so much, colleagues. You have heard my takeaway is subconsciously conscious. That's from Rapula, and respectfully being disrespectful. That is from Divesh. Those are my takeaway from the session, and indeed, I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, the podcast will be available at online at what's going on now on at insightsonlinepodcast.com, which you can also access it at Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Otherwise, you just go straight to insightsonlinepodcast.com. You will have the entire series, as Ndadera Mutla was saying last week, that he was quite pleasantly surprised when he went on to the podcast and he found that all the series from one to where we are now is there. So please make use of that content. We're looking forward to unit number 23, conduct 18, next Tuesday, titled Promoting Your Show or the Program. This is now as a host of a show or as a producer of a show, anchor of a show. One of the conducts is you need to promote your show. And that's what we're going to talk about. And that's unit number 23. Utilize social media marketing technique to promote your digital broadcast effectively. And you can get grips with the content from our social media course titled Social Media Marketing. we will share with you nuggets from that course. I think this is going to be quite very, very interesting following today's session. Thank you so much. That was Comesa Radio Worldwide, The Mind, The Journey, The Destiny. I was joined by Divesh Motilal, Maynard Maisela, Franz Ramuda Mago, Rapula Mudivani, Emmanuel and Jang, and many of you, Comesa members, friends, supporters, and listeners in the background. You have received the invitation directly from our membership platform, ComesaMember.com. If you have not yet updated your profile there, please take note that it is available. Go to ComesaMember.com. You are already as a member registered there. You just need to log in. If you can't log in, please enter "I forgot my password." The platform will send you an email so that you can reset your password. Go there, update your profile, put your picture. You can even download your membership card there or have it virtually. From now onwards, that's how you're going to get invitations. As always, I remind you that our shows are based on the principle called the idea, which is a really powerful principle for social learning platform or collective learning. It stands for we inform and entertain, develop and educate, empower and support, associate and network. That's the idea. Check our website as well, comesa-goc.com. Thank you so much. My name is Sam Zimmer, and it was pleasant to have you. See you next week. Take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Prasam. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Goodbye, Margo. Goodbye, Divesh, Rabula, Maynard, Emmanuel.
Bye.
Bye.